Bravo, bravo. Yes, we are live.
We are live. And
So,
this is a biggie.
yeah, I think this show is a show that a lot of people in my network and your network have been.
We've been discussing this one because we said if you're not prepared to be offended, don't show up.
Exactly.
That was basically, and this is going to be a fun show. We'll get into the introduction after our intro, but we're going to be meeting today with Ron Vargas, who I met some years ago in San Francisco, and he was saying the things that I might think, but I would never let come out of my mouth.
And I know why you wouldn't also.
So we have Ron for the hour discussing living without filters on
A Wonderful Chaos.
Yes. Ron Vargas. So Ron is, as I mentioned, I met him probably about 2 years ago, and I was on the show that he was actually running on the back end, which is called Simulations. You might have seen me do that show, maybe not. On the tour through the U.S. when I had the first book, I did this tour, and then Ron was there in the background. He was sort of hanging out behind, like 5 computers as they were doing the transitions, but he had this like dry, harsh humor, and I really liked it. But when you meet people that are really like kind of, they are out there and they say what's going on, you're like, that they rub people the wrong way, like it, because if you live your full kind of saying what you see, a little bit snarky, a little bit laughing, a little bit eccentric, then people there's like an insecurity that's created, like, oh my God, he might say something that may offend me, right? So on my show, when I was with him and his colleague that was interviewing me, then basically he then says something really funny, like I'm in the middle of this really sensitive moment talking about the death of my mom and how hard it was with my dad, and then he, in the middle of this, like kind of almost where you feel a tear might come, he just says, it just sounds like a mommy daddy issue, just in the middle of the. And I loved him even more for it, because I'm like, you know what? Like, you get to be fully you, and I get to be fully me. And and if I need you to change so that I'm comfortable, that ain't gonna work. So we spent the night together. After that, we went out to dinner. He took me to one of these funky places in San Francisco, what I'd never discovered. And yeah, we had a really nice night. And then when we came online and we started doing the show, he was one of our first like people coming and watching more shows, and half of his comments we couldn't put on the air because they were just a little bit too biting.
Yeah.
I mean, we'd look at them and we'd see, and I kind of want to like make sure anyone who's listening, like, be prepared, because Ron may use language or descriptive nature of genitalia or things that it's hard to swallow.
And and you can hear how Andy's like sugarcoating this.
So, and who knows? I don't know how he's going to show up today, but I do know that I'm on the edge of my seat because I don't know what's going to come out of his mouth.
Like, I'm even wondering, to what degree do you also create Ron? Like, because you're talking about him in this way. Like, imagine he's in a different place right now. He comes on, but because we've introduced him in this way, he kind of like has to play that role now.
Well, let's say that let's invite him not to have to play that role. Let's put it this way. I've never seen him not play that role. So if he's different today for the first time in our meeting, then it'll be a nice discussion, and I'm okay with that. But what I don't want to do is I don't want someone to come online that thinks that it may be not filled with profanity, and then all of a sudden have just a profanity-laced podcast, which I think has space. Everything should have space, including that, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah.
So now I think, without further ado, it would be great to welcome the man, the legend, the myth, Dr. Ronald Vargas.
Good morning, losers.
How did you feel about the intro? Did it, was it
fair enough? Thank you. Yes. Yeah. It's good enough. I stand behind that.
Would you say that you say things that offend people on a daily basis, or would you say that you've basically alienated most people in your life so that they're not around anymore?
So say that again. Repeat that question again, because it's the same thing.
I would say, do you alienate people on a daily basis, or have you already alienated everyone so there's no one around you anymore that can be alienated? Is that like...
No, there's still plenty around that I'm loved and hated for the exact same reasons.
Yeah.
So that's the bottom line. Now, you can't dance with everybody. And not everybody, if you thought that everybody was going to love you, I'm here to remind you that this doesn't work that way.
Yeah.
No matter what you believe in, no matter how you speak, what you believe in, where you stand.
And I would say, at what age, and was it always this way for you, or was there a point in life when you just said, you know what, screw it, I'm going to say what I'm really feeling now? Like, was it always from childhood that way, or did you progressively become more that way?
Looking back in childhood, I was outspoken, curious, and would ask questions and would observe and comment on. And I recall in my childhood where some people found it adorable and others found it dangerous. So
And would you say the dangerous ones were kind of more feeling like you're touching on part of me that I don't want to be seen? Like, would you say you were not like curious per se, but maybe calling them out, and that might be the reason? Or what would you...
Yeah, calling them out more than anything. People in authoritative positions have trouble with my outspoken nature.
Okay.
People that want you to, go along to get along. Yeah, I know. The ones that tell you, "Oh, life isn't fair," are the ones that are going to fuck you in the ass right around the corner. Oh, there's that language. This is true, but
hey,
this
listen,
is
we
true.
Prepared everybody. We prepared everyone for you.
Life can be fair. It's just the liars, the cheaters, and the thieves are the ones that are telling you, "Oh, life isn't fair," and that's the way it is. And
interesting. So let's break that one down for a second. Are you staying on track right now, or where are you?
I'm with Ron.
Nice. So when you say, I hadn't thought about this. Someone says to you, "Life isn't fair." So it's a weird. So you're saying to me that when someone says that, basically, what is it that they're not allowing to be true? So what is it that they're like, basically like stopping, or there's something in there that you said that I didn't quite get completely. When someone says to you, "Life isn't fair," if I say to you, "Life isn't fair," then what are you teaching me in that?
What am I?
Yeah, what is somebody teaching their children if they say life isn't fair?
That you got to be you got to be a little bit full of shit to go to participate in this life. Kind of like the Kenny Rogers song. You gotta know when to hold them, know when to fold them,
know when to walk away,
and when to run.
You know that?
No,
you gotta
but you
count
gotta,
your money when you're sitting at the table. Bambos can't join us, so we can't do that.
No, you
try to familiarize yourself with that song, Bambos. It's a classic. It's a
classic.
Yeah,
and he died this year or recently, so we have to pay homage to him as well.
Rest in peace, Kenny Rogers. Nobody rests in peace, though. Don't for a minute. You want to rest in peace? Take a fucking nap. It's just my theory.
Hold on. I'm going back to like you and so you also have to function in business world, right? You have a real job, you do real things. So what is it like that you have to like act or behave differently in order for it to work in a business and not get fired?
I try not to put myself in that position where I need to rely on an employer that has certain rules and guidelines that I need to what's the word that
Adjust.
I need to stay involved.
Have you been fired?
I'm sorry?
Have you been fired from a job?
Yes. Many.
That could be like the best like half answer that I've ever seen.
Yeah.
Many.
Well, because a half answer, because more often I walked away from jobs that I found questionable, that I needed to turn a blind eye to stuff that just didn't really seem right.
Okay.
You know, there was a time where I had to work for a public access facility in my hometown where there was some, bureaucratical doings that didn't really sit well with me. A little nepotism that I had to just allow in. Somebody's niece wanted to do video and had no talent whatsoever, but I had to, it's the councilman's daughter, so whatever. So I don't like that. I want meritocracy, not
So you'll say that you would stand where you would, there's people that suffer by their principles. So you would probably describe yourself as someone that suffers because of their principles.
I don't suffer. It's a harder journey, a little bit, mind you. It has been and it will continue to be. However, there's no suffering.
I guess suffering
the long run.
Word.
Yeah, the long run. It's well worth it.
Yeah, I agree with you, of course. Iris, who is someone that we enjoy, who's been on the show, says, do you let others call you out as well?
I do accept constructive criticism. I'm always open, but there are some points. Like, let me take, for example, there was an interview with Andrew Yang. If you're not familiar with Andrew Yang, he was a candidate for president of the United States who dropped out of the race. But I was involved in that show, and I was playing devil's advocate, towards his universal basic income theory. And the trolls were brutal on that program. If you watch that show, you'll see that they really gave it into me. They're like, you got to lose the guy with the glasses. He's terrible. He's awful. And then I revisited the show. I watched the show, and I'm like, what are these people talking about? And I watched my show, and I listened to myself, and I knew my role in the show. And I'm like, yeah, no big deal. Fuck them if you can't take a joke. I stand behind everything I said in that show, as dark as it may have been.
When you say you were on the show, what was your role on that show specifically? What were you doing?
The same role that I had when you were on the show. I'm just on the sidelines, and if things get a little dry or a little slow, I'll throw in my 2 cents. The same thing with you.
Okay, so Andrew Yang was on the simulation show, the same one that I was on with you, and you did your 2 cents thing with him, and then you got
throughout the show. Yeah, throughout the show. Yeah.
Oh, nice.
And a lot of people didn't. A few people, got behind me, but most people could have done without me in that show. They were more interested in, getting their free money than which I think. Yeah, universal basic income. Then it's just a rigged game that they're just trying to find a way to, keep people, the class system, to put the haves and the have-nots. It's part of the capitalist system.
Yeah.
So
Ron, what in you as you make these comments to these individuals, what is the intention underneath the things that you put out there?
There's no intention.
Well, slow down on that one. Slow down, Ron. Let that question sink into you a little bit. Like, feel into when you make that comment, because I make the same comments, that. And what I'm wondering is, where is it coming from in you? Because I can share myself, but I'd like to hear from you as well.
Well, my mom was outspoken. My mom spoke her mind, and a lot of people loved her for that. And it's in my genetics to just, when somebody says, oh, he tells it like it is, I don't tell it like it is. I just tell it like I see it. It may not necessarily be what it is.
Yeah.
What it is to one person is different than to another. So I'm just playing my part.
Yeah.
Yeah. I notice, like, I don't like, in a way, you use your mother as a thing. And I want to give you the full responsibility. What is your intention when you do it? And let the past be the past.
Just to I'm comfortable in my own skin. It's not it doesn't come out of insecurity. Now it doesn't. Maybe in my younger day there was insecure issues, came through as arrogance and cockiness, but now I'm just comfortable with it.
Well, because I can say, because like when I would do the kind of snarky comments or the things here and there, it was often because like the noise in my head was so loud of what I was seeing, but what wasn't being outspoken. So what I noticed, especially as a young kid, as a coping mechanism, my mom would call me her little shit stirrer, because I would say the things that were apparent to everyone, but no one would voice. And that was kind of a way of coping for me, because on some ways it was like, I'm not going to be insane. I'm not going to let the world that's so damn obvious not be spoken to. So in some ways, when Bambos asked you that question, I was also thinking to myself, to what degree was that also similar for you, that like you saw things that weren't being outspoken and you felt like this is the way that I can like air it. What are you smoking there, by the way?
Marijuana.
Okay, just so we know for sure.
Yeah.
For our listeners that are out there. Yeah.
Yeah. Today's a wake and bake day for me. This conversation totally prompted me to loosen up. Good thing it's not alcohol, though. Oh, my goodness. If the show was later and I had a few drinks, and then, alcohol is kind of like that truth serum.
Oh, no.
Those inhibitions, no, come right out. And that I've gotten in trouble and numerous places, because of what comes out of my mouth under the influence of alcohol, which I can't. Looking back, I'm just not sorry. I'm not sorry. That's just.
Well, I mean,
it was alcohol that brought it out. Then
give me an example. Give me an example of one of the ones that was on the scale of like 0 to 10. What's the like 8 or a 9 of like, oh yeah, that made real problems in my life?
Which one was in the on a scale from 9 to 10 that caused real problems?
Yeah,
See, that's
like a wedding. Were you like at a wedding and someone like was giving a best man speech, and then all of a sudden in the middle you said,
"Look at that face! Look at that face!"
Like that's somehow how I see you. Like in the middle of this incredibly beautiful, like sensitive moment where like Julia Roberts has background music playing, and then I see Ron's voice out the back.
Okay, good. This is a true story here. My cousin asked me to videotape his wedding.
Okay.
And this was back in the day of VHS cameras. It was a big tape on a big camera, and I was videotaping the wedding and, doing my thing, trying to have a good time. And I finished the wedding and I give them the tape, and, they get back to me with a rash of shit. Apparently, I had the camera rolling when I went into the bathroom and started talking shit about how this wedding was a drag and I don't even want to be here. I fucking hate that song, Paradise by the Dashboard Light. Why do we have to listen to that song? So this is my rant that they're listening to as they're watching their wedding.
Oh my! And you didn't check before you sent them the video to see what?
I just gave them the tape. No, I didn't edit nothing. I just I recorded it and I gave them the tape. I didn't even look at it. And so that's a good example, not direct, but indirectly speaking my mind. And it got me trouble. And there was, of course, some regret at that time. I should have, I didn't want to mess their day. Needless to say, years later, the wedding, dissolved and people get divorced and remarried. Yeah. So just as well. Yeah, that's another thing. I have an ability to when I do videotape more weddings, all I could see in that viewfinder was this couple making a fucking terrible mistake. And I can't tell them because I gotta make the money. They'd ask me to videotape their wedding, but I made a decision not to videotape people's weddings because of that. Because I don't want to see that, and I don't want to profit off of either. I don't want to be that part of that economy.
Yeah. By the way, Iris is very much following us today. She's asking, do you lose relationships because of being non-filtering?
And more specifically, that were important to you.
Oh, yeah. Nice.
Well, I've lost relationships, but I've bailed. I'm the one that bails on most.
Okay.
But no, a lot of my relationships, a lot of women. No, I don't want to generalize, but some women kind of like that bad boy image, and that's all fine and dandy, and unless you find yourself in a domestic abuse situation, which isn't the case with me, But I could have been a little, looking back. Especially in my marriage, I was married briefly back when I was a young man, and looking back, I just, I'm terribly sorry for who I was.
But would you say that you've changed since then? And if so, how?
Of course, if you're the same person that you at 40 that you were at 20, you didn't learn a thing in life.
Yeah.
So yeah.
But what would you say was different? Because in a way, you say you're still very much say what's on your mind. You're very frank.
I just have to work on it a little more. I want to be true to myself, and that this way I can be true to others. And I want to just be careful who I talk to, especially children. Children are most important. Where I would filter myself. But however, to my peers, I want to be as if someone has bad breath or stinks, I'm going to let them know.
Or something in the teeth.
Or something in the teeth. Right.
So that's funny. So you would say you'd feel comfortable, which is incredible. Like if you're sitting next to someone that stinks, you just say, dude, you stink.
Something stinks. Or what is that? And I'll look at them. I'll go right up in their face. Stink.
Ron, you actually, like, something stayed with me. You said that I am the one that left the relationship, right?
Yeah.
And on
most relationships.
On my journey, when I look at my own path when I was the one that left the relationship, I actually left myself. I left there's a part of myself that I wasn't fully embracing. So I was leaving them, but I was actually abandoning myself in that moment. And I'm wondering if you can sense into that, and how does that apply to you?
Yeah, I left that man in the fucking dust. I left him right where, I have no regrets at, my age and single and not a husband, not a father. I'm sure I'd make a good one now, better than I would have back in the day. However, there's so much more to be learned if you choose not to go the traditional suggestion of what life is, which is, being fruitful and multiplying, which is problematic. If anything, whoever fuck said that needs to reevaluate. Oh, it was God? Oh, sorry.
By the way, I'd like to sit with your question, because I thought that was really quite beautiful. Yeah. Is that, by the way, I'm on my first day of juicing. So everything is running slowly. With it. And I was just trying to think. I'm trying to remember what I was going to say. I needed a little space in there to get to the point. You just asked him, abandoning yourself in order, so not saying what's on your mind and being frank. So you're in that way.
No, by leaving the relationship,
there's
something in that person that I can't deal with. So to what degree I can't deal with that part of myself?
Yeah, I would say that most of the time, if I can fully be me, and that's a problem for them, if I don't have a problem with them having a problem with me, it's not a problem.
Yeah, so they're the ones that are going to walk out.
They're always going to be the ones that walk out.
So if you don't have a problem with being you, then why walk out?
Yeah. Why walk out?
If I don't have a problem with being me.
It sounds like we're doing a logical. So like, I think you had a hard time following our logic. Let's just put it this way.
No.
If you're totally comfortable with people even not liking you, then why would you ever leave anything? Why wouldn't they just leave you? That's the curiosity. Because you can be you, like you smell, and then the guy gets so offended that at some point you're like, well, he's so offended that I just don't want to spend time around him anymore. So
well, first of all, I'm a very advanced human being. So what you're having a hard time understanding right now is kind of beyond me a little bit. It has a difficult time to explain. So whatever I left behind, abandoning, I've said that looking back, there are no regrets. Would I change? What would I change if I went back? I would abandon who I was and find somebody else. Ron Vargas is a machine. His brain is just a storage of memories, but who I am on a daily basis is a lot more complex than whoever this man has been for, however, it's a machine.
Yeah.
I'm living off of Ron Vargas's brain.
Yeah. Gotcha. Yeah, we discussed a lot of that yesterday on our show about basically if we just look at our brains as an operating system, we're just functioning on the patterns that have been laid in, for years. We don't even know them anymore. Yeah.
And who we truly are. Like sleep is a brief exercise in death, period. Who you are on a daily basis is a soup of sorts. You can't, it's hard to explain. And I think a lot of it is a secret as well. A lot of the truth that people seek in life needs to be kept a well-guarded secret. Because we take advantage of it. People, it's a thin line.
That's been your experience.
It's a thin line that we walk on. What this human spirit does with power. So we have to be careful. The power we have over each other through talking with them. That's the way we talk to each other. We assert our power in debate through language. We want to win or whatnot, or it's I'm having a good time in these uncertain times. And Black lives do matter. I'm a BLM guy, and I support my oppressed brothers and sisters, dark-skinned. The whole, it's obvious, the white and black thing. It could be the yin and yang. We got to understand if that's your way you want to look at it, then it's the yin and yang, and work together. Let's knock off the shit and pick on the darkies.
Yeah.
We digressed. Let's go back to let's
where you were?
Should we throw in a swear word just for ratings?
No.
Well, like there's two questions here. One was when you start talking about Black Lives Matter, to what degree as a white guy do you contribute to that?
Well, I do on a regular basis anyway.
No, I'm talking about how.
What am I doing now?
No, to what degree, by how we live, consume, contribute, the things that we consciously buy, are you contributing to sustaining racism?
Sustaining racism. What am I doing? And being silent. I should speak up more often. I should have spoke up a long time ago. But instead, I just observe. And here we got George Floyd. But there's so many names. It would do me some good to learn all these names that in recent past. I see where they talk about systematic racism and institutional, that the whole system is based off that. We're supposed to hate, or somebody's supposed to hate and oppress and not give opportunity to a specific group of people. And that needs to change. We can't be complicit in that.
Yeah. So,
I've contributed. I come from, racism, but you can't blame them, the older generations. It's just, it takes work. You have to work on that.
Yeah.
And continuously.
You were raised in it. So you mean people in your environment would have been racist.
Sure. I love my, mom and dad, but, they lean a little towards that attitude. And that's understandable. It's a way of life. It was a way of life.
Yeah.
That's just the way it was for them. This is their truth.
Would you see you getting in fights with them now if you were to have a discussion? Because
no, not at all. I remember asking my mom, Ma, if I wanted to marry Janet Jackson, would you have a problem with that? And she did. And I was surprised.
Oh, yeah.
But I'm like, because I'm like, yeah, but she's Janet Jackson. Come on.
Yeah.
But even to that extent. But that's actually the way to fight racism, is to have a baby with, if you're a white person.
Well, I mean, it was kind of interesting because, my dad was Jewish and mom was Catholic, and both families disowned each other when they decided to have kids. So it was quite fascinating that, that's where it starts. And then the babies come, and then all of a sudden we make up and everything is better than it could have ever been,
Well, good. I'm glad they got over it.
It
was a learning curve for them. That's what they needed to go through. But that's cute that they disowned you. Oh, they disowned you. You racist.
Not me. The other one.
You cute little racist. Yeah. But and I'm glad that when I was young, I knew that something was wrong and that this isn't right and that's not the way to think. But I'm young and I'm powerless, and I can't say this to and this is your mom and dad are your authority, and there was discipline there too as well. So we had to walk a thin line in that. Yeah, that's another thing. If you're young people listening, and your mom and dad happen to have hate in their heart and hate a specific group of people, good luck to you. But
yeah, because you can't go to them for understanding. Like that's the real struggle, is that once you begin to grow out of a belief system, especially in your family, right? It's like schooling. You can kind of grow out of schooling because you might move out of the state or the city, and you don't have to deal with your old friends per se. But your family, you're kind of like you're kind of locked with them. So if you got a racist family and you want to move out of that, and you do have a big mouth, right? Then you really do have to figure out how you're going to navigate that. That isn't going to be easy.
My mom and I were a lot alike, and we had a hard time. It was a strained relationship. But if there's one thing I'm very grateful for, is mending that relationship and enjoying some time with my mother before she passed away in 2013. But you can't change how people are. You have to change inside. We've heard this before, and that's true. And my mom didn't change. I changed inside how I react, what troubled me with her and where she was, and I did the best I could. And I was filtered, with my mom. I did filter myself to the max. I wouldn't share my opinion because I knew it would only result in confrontation. But right now, she's dead. She's dead now, so I don't give a fuck.
Whoever outlives gets the last word. So,
Oh, she hated that. I was a big last word guy.
Yeah. So I was actually curious. Would you say that your way of being outspoken, without filters, as we call it, did it come from some form of suppression as a child?
Perhaps. I don't analyze. I don't spend too much on self-analyzation, but perhaps. And my voice projects now, and people tell me your voice projects. And also, maybe because there's something I want to say. I want to talk to people. I want them to love and stop fussing and fighting and focus on being better and stop wasting your time. And these are things I want to say. And I don't know how to say it so that I can get people to listen, but it's perhaps I'm loud because of that.
But do you also enjoy the provocation? Do you enjoy getting a little bit under people's skin? Does that give you some?
Oh, no, I don't. I don't like it when what I may say is troubling.
Mm-hmm.
No.
So when I was on the show on Simulations, and I'm in this deep emotional state, and you're like, that sounds like a mommy daddy issue to me, like you could imagine if someone like me took myself more seriously, like, oh, feel my pain, oh, be with me with sadness. Like that would have been, you took a risk in doing that.
Yes, and that's what you're all about. The last letter is about getting in touch with that and acknowledging the pain and it hurt. Let me yeah, Andy, with you, I got a lot of that abuse growing up. What do I care? I remember my stepdad on my birthday. He had a favorite. He had a favorite in my younger brother, and he didn't know it was my birthday. And he gave my brother a gift on that day, and I got upset. And it hurt my feelings. Listen to you laughing. And
when I a bad comedy.
Yeah, I told my mother, and she told him, and I could hear him in the other room. What do I care? and that's the trauma. That's it. The rest.
How old were you when that happened? How old were you when that happened?
Oh, 7, 8. Might have been my 8th birthday.
Did you live under like the stairwell in a wooden cabinet?
I had a little fort, and I wrote on the wall. I drew on the wall a flag, and on the flag I wrote inside "fuck you," and that was my little fort underneath the stairs back in Salem, Massachusetts. Yeah, but
I mean, there is some sort of rage against the machine in you,
without a doubt. Yeah. There was. Shut up! Shut your mouth! Shut up! Shut up! Shut up!
Wow.
No, I'm sure. But and my mother said, what you say is going to get you killed, and I don't want that to be true. However, we live in an age where this can be true. People are mysteriously getting whacked off for sharing secrets that they shouldn't. That is going to cost somebody billions of dollars, and they get killed. Even around the JFK.
I know.
He wanted to expose the secret society that everybody wants to uncover. But it's all in The Wizard of Oz. Pay no attention to that man behind the curtain, you clanking collection of collisionist junk. Quiet! So you got to have fun with it. And you got to learn how to fight this dark villain just with love and wit and a smile, you make them laugh, or it's awful.
Like it's a little bit of how you function in the world. This is the way you function in the world.
Yeah, to live. I don't want to live and be strong. You want to be strong. I'm not it all depends on your role in life, and I understand my role. I mean, I'm hired to direct. So therefore I do have to take charge and to be assertive. So I have to apply it there professionally, but personally, I think I want to go out being a better soul than it was coming in. And so it can be better and stronger. Should it find itself as a little boy again, or a little girl, or a little girl that remembers when he was a little boy, and everybody's having a hard time relating to this. No, you're a boy. Well, I'm a girl. Yeah, it's crazy what's happening now. This evolutionary process, and what we're all dealing with collectively. As humans.
Iris is following us deeply on this talk, so she's saying she's appreciating the way you speak about trauma, and it's inspiring. So,
thank you, Iris. Thank you for saying whatever you got going on. You can get through it. It took me only 36 years and about $40,000 worth of cocaine, and I'm cured.
I'm a changed man.
No, but it did. It was 36 years without a doubt. It wasn't until that age, that I just started piecing it together. I did suffer a heart attack as a result of an overdose, and
would you say that changed your life?
Well, what happened there was I just felt it in my heart. The pain I only felt in my heart. It didn't do anything to change whatever was troubling me in my head, but I did focus on the damage that I had done to my heart, and I'm like, I got to fix whatever's going on in my head myself.
Wow.
And I did. I did. And now I navigate, forward.
Beautiful.
And I don't
How long
mix.
ago was
I don't
that?
mix my cocaine with heroin anymore.
How old are you now?
What's that?
How old are you now?
54.
54.
I'll be 54 in November.
You actually mentioned I don't remember, but something about your heart being connected to how you speak, right?
Well, I was actually making reference to I could physically feel the damage that I had done to my heart, not to my
This was before the story with the heart attack. You were talking about living in the world and being connected to heart when you speak, and I'm wondering, do you sense love when you make those comments? And do you get, so in a way you're saying that there's love there because I'm putting the comment out, and then you get judged for that love, or people get triggered because of the love, because they don't see the love. They're like, this guy's an asshole.
Well, tough love. Some people talk about tough love. I'm going to have to say no here, not allow this. And I do love you, and it's because I care for you. No, you can't do this. And, that's tough love. Or even, people that discipline their children with, through physical, they say it's tough love. And we have to teach you. So.
I guess Bambos was also pointing at the idea that part of this sort of unfiltered expression, just fully speaking, is that you actually are also feeling there's an emotion that's in there that's raw, even if it's playful and feels to be maybe a judgment from another person. It's raw and it's pure. So in some ways, like, to get rejected is also rejecting what you may even see as giving them love.
To reject.
Yeah, if the other rejects it.
Yeah. Well, looking at my marriage, rejecting that, I did her some good, for the sake of love. She's much better off now.
Yeah,
we both are. So, if that's what you're implying,
well, I guess the idea is just simply what I've seen, and I think all three of us probably can relate to this, right? Is that Bambos is also very forward. So he'll say things that actually others might not be comfortable saying. And some people have a hard time knowing how to process that, right? That's how I've known him in the past. He's not so much that way. If he slept, as you said, in the morning, you're different. So he's very different than that. But at least he can relate. I can relate with it because I've often, and in my work, quite frankly, I get paid to say the things that other people are avoiding. That's what
he gets paid for that, right?
That's what I get paid for. So I mean, I basically turned it into my job. And the only thing, the nuance, because there is an important nuance in that, and the nuance is without judgment. So that's a fine line, because it's like you judge and then you place a value on it. Like, that's not good. And once it comes from those lips with any taint of it isn't good, you're screwed, because the other person feels it and then they get triggered, and then all of a sudden it becomes this divisive thing.
Separation.
Well, what I was saying earlier, I had made a post about, you billing me on this show through, he has the worst sense of humor, and he says the most inappropriate things at the most inappropriate time. He's the poster child for, so, that's kind of, and I'm reading it and then saying, wow, this man's insulting me. Does he really think I'm as bad as that? But, I don't, but here I am to,
But I mean, okay.
Slow down, Ron. Yeah. When you use the word insulting, like when, like, I have a different experience. Like when I'm listening to him talking about you, I can feel that the intention of his words are not actually to minimize you or hurt you, but actually he's trying to elevate you.
I know, and good for me that I know Andy anyway. We did spend some time in San Francisco. He was on our show and we hung out and we had a really good time. We've also corresponded before he booked me for the show. You know, I've been supportive of his effort along the way. So I know who he is and I had fun with it. But if I didn't,
but hold on. Like, I need to rewind a little bit here.
Yeah.
Like, in my defense, you've written some comments on the shows when, like, we've had somebody on and you've said things like, why don't you put a dildo in your butt or something like that?
You brought it up. I wanted you to be specific. What were you talking about? But you brought it up in the conversation in a way.
Right?
I don't remember, but I just remember.
You were talking about something that I felt that comment was most appropriate, just to take the conversation to the next level.
Take the conversation to the next level. That's my point. That's my point.
Ron, have you ever given yourself, and I'll call it an experience of, I don't have to put myself in there. I don't have to say it, and like just sit with it.
A lot.
Oh yeah.
Yes. Oh, without a doubt. There's a lot that doesn't come out.
And how does it feel in your body?
I'm okay with it because there's a lot of things, many things that my mind goes at where people would be extremely uncomfortable with.
Wow.
Not to, I'm not just about regular things, just about my thoughts on the evolution of life, Let's talk about the Georgia Guidestones. Are you familiar with them? The stuff in these Georgia Guidestones. Search it if you don't know what it is. And it makes suggestions about life. And some of those, some people think that's problematic. And I think they sound pretty good.
So you do filter?
Yes.
Yeah. Oh, by the way, I'm looking to see if I have any comments on my own site. But
lower your volume. I only work with professionals.
I know you do.
So, if you would tune into this moment, right, with the three of us, and we just take a deep breath in, and you just tune into what would be the thing that you would want to say right now that possibly, because we're talking so fast, it's not being expressed, if anything.
We are not alone. We are not alone. This isn't just, we're not alone. And whatever's out there needs to be reckoned with. That's all I'll say. Among us, the good, the bad, the ugly, whatever you want to call it or think it is. People that believe and, don't believe. I don't have the luxury of atheism. I'm aware that, something's out there and can, do things which appear to be like magic. However, it's all up to us. We have to. It doesn't like to, like a parent doesn't, this is going to hurt me as much as it hurts you. And then they go and whack you, it's similar to that. It wants us to learn and advance in the way we think. And that's when you told me to take a breath. What if you took a breath amongst us three? And I did, as you were suggesting that. And that's what I came up with. But I don't talk about God. I don't talk about it.
We have Joe Presimone's on tomorrow. And
hey, Joe.
Writes, I don't have the luxury of atheism. I love that.
Yeah, it's a luxury to not have ever experienced anything, outside this 3D reality, 3D narrative, who we truly are outside of this. All three of us right here, right now is beyond 3D comprehension. Yeah. But it is beautiful and it is real.
I mean, let's contextualize a little bit more when you talk about that, because that is a topic that comes up a lot in different shapes and forms on the show. And it's really something that I find incredibly fascinating. And I even got into it yesterday's talk, is that in some degree, we do like take this thing that we see in front of us so seriously, and the thoughts that come into our head based on this kind of image that we projected on that becomes reality, that then defines us. And now there's this interactive, it defines us, we define it, it defines us, we define it. And yet we don't see that process is just actually our system, our brain, like not looking beyond the pattern. There's just a simple it's like an operating system that's running, and we're not able to even see that operating system is there. I mean, it was funny on your show. I got the forget the name of the person running the show for Simon.
Alan Sakian.
Alan Sakian.
Yeah.
So when Alan asks every person on the show, are we in a simulation?
Yeah.
Right? That's a sort of his set line. He asks each person, are we in a simulation? And I was like, of course we're in a simulation, because all we are is creating ideas in this construct, which is already limited. It's finite in what it's being. And
it is.
If we came back 1,000 years from now, that construct would be so different that we wouldn't even know that the other construct could have existed. You know.
Well, it all depends on how what you see as the construct. You know, the simulation. You talk about 1,000 years. It's happening now. This 1,000 years ago is, but this is good that you talk about this, because we need to start talking about these things in order to advance.
Well, I think we need to talk about it to deal with even the whole thing we have going on right now with this institutionalized racism that exists everywhere in the world. Because if you think that if you just take it for granted and say, hey, this is just the system, and you don't say, on one of the shows when we did right after, pretty much when this thing all went to hell, the first thing I said is that I want every person to say, you used a better phrasing than I did when I brought it out.
Which show was this?
This was the show in Judge and Judgment, when I said, we were talking about racism, and I said, I would want every individual, like,
I'm experiencing, I have the experience of racism within me or something.
Yeah, it's more. So if we can't all say, where is racism true for me, then basically the dialogue to change doesn't exist. Because if someone's still defending that they aren't racist or have some tendency that they're not aware of, it means that there's not even a dialogue space to begin to change that system. It means they're already confined in the idea, hey, it's perfect, I'm great, I'm doing everything. Oh yeah, there's some exceptions, as if those exceptions are not an issue, right? Because they're so minimal.
This is true. I may be guilty of that, as well, because I can't lose sight of the fact that it's still just in me. There are still things that I need to.
Yeah. But I mean, I think the beauty is that and this is where that show we talked about, Judge and Judgment, and that if we don't judge those and we allow them to be seen, it means there's now spaciousness for everyone to become more self-aware. Because I've never seen institutionalization fix institutionalization. It's just another form of other rules, and then which is where we say we are now. We'd say we've solved the issue because we've made it illegal for schools to be segregated. It was one step further, but the problem didn't go away.
We've got a long way to go. Yeah, they just find another way. It's an interesting observation, but it's good that people are observing that. They see the pattern you were talking about. They see,
or not.
History repeats. Why? Don't you see what's happening now? We've done this before. We continuously do it. So it doesn't. People just want it to work, but it doesn't. How do you guys feel about a concept of a new world order? Does it frighten you to be a globalist, to work together, or are you latching on to your nationalism and someone has to win?
I mean,
conquer.
The New World Order is an interesting one, because that even stating it that way, you already create the idea that, like, as soon as you go to a world economy or digital economy, then all of a sudden you already see that it's just, you'd have a party would say it's not about trying to make the world a better place. It's trying to standardize things so more control can be put in the system, right? So that's the humor of it, is that to what degree is the expansion of society just a guise for a government taking more control. I mean, you can think about it. Any government would want to wean everybody off of currencies and make it all digital. Like as soon as it's digital, basically all black market disappears that day.
Yikes.
Because you can't buy anything that's not in the system, and that's how black markets function. So, I mean, on one level, you think to yourself, let's do it global, one global economy or a global currency. And that's the byproduct.
I think that we'll find a way to, always we'll be different human beings, and there'll be some way to make sure that we do the things that we want to do. We want to live, and they're working. The scientists are working on extending our lives, and if that's the case, then you best let us enjoy it. If you're gonna have to be here for longer, yeah.
Nice.
Well, they want us to work longer, right?
That's another thing. We were talking about it earlier. We're not alone. Something needs to be reckoned with. And who the fuck are they? Who are these people? And what do they actually, what do they want from us? It's a beautiful planet. The living plants and animals. It's beautiful. This human experiment is interesting. But however, I'll make me a puffin next time.
I saw a beautiful Facebook post, and it had Earth and Mars, and it showed Elon Musk. Elon Musk wants to turn Mars into Earth and Earth into Mars.
Yeah.
It's possible that's what we continuously do. These stories of that someone was already on Mars. It's just probably us. The possibility, just going back and forth. I'm not quite sure, but somebody's obviously racing for Mars right now. And the reason's obvious. We're killing a planet. It's just all right there on the table, and I don't. We can still stay here. We can live here with the planet, in it's the planet's natural order. But we don't. We don't. So there's something among us that needs to die. So we can work together. But the fuck do I know? There's always a dark villain in science fiction movies. So there is no utopian future. Get over it.
Yeah. Well, if you look at any dystopian future, there's certainly no one representing anything better 10 or 20 years from now than what it is today. That's for sure.
Yeah, Princess Leia was lovely, and Harrison Ford, Luke Skywalker. Yeah, it's you gotta have. It's all in that Kenny Rogers song. That we were talking about earlier, and don't let the sun see you crying. All those cliches are true. Mr. Rogers is a beautiful human being. Bombos, do you know who Mr. Rogers is?
No.
You don't know who Fred Rogers is?
No.
Wow.
You have to be introduced to him. We'll get him introduced at some point.
I need to take my sweater off. Can I?
Yeah. By the way, we're gonna say goodbye now. We're coming up on the hour.
Well, is it over? Great.
You're off the hot seat, just like that. You can take your jacket off and relax again.
Have another cup of coffee and
with vanilla.
Start my day.
Thank you for waking up for us at 8 a.m. I know you were up late last night doing your own thing on fried chicken.
Oh, the lives we were doing the plants. Yeah, the plants outside. Yes, thank you. You went live too. I forgot all about that, Andy. Yeah.
When Ron, basically Ron does his own show called Fried Chicken, and it's basically I enjoy the show just because it's so random, and I don't know where the hell he's going or what he's doing, but there's an enjoyment in that I feed off of.
Friedchicken.tv is or search Ron Vargas Fried Chicken, get there, subscribe and be surprised. I really would love you. I'm working on that.
Thank you, Ron.
Thank you guys. I love you both. Enjoy your day, and we'll see you around.
Yeah. Thanks, man.
See you around, Ron.
Ciao, man. So we didn't get so many of the cuss words that we were expecting, probably because we warned so much that it didn't go. Yeah. It is beautiful to see. I've noticed when we're with them, you can sort of see that kind of intense being, right? kind of always jumping and jumping and jumping. And there's something about when you communicate that way that the people around often will have a hard time just creating like the space to just really listen. Because other people have, their own ways of wanting to be communicated with and all that kind of stuff. So
yeah, I could really tune into how he could be misunderstood. Like people will focus on the words and not see the person.
Yeah. I think that's the unfortunate thing. I think with like my dad, I had a similar thing, right? Because, I judged him for his behavior for years because he was brash, said what was on his mind. I felt uncomfortable a lot as a kid. And then I realized only later that there was a freedom that he was in that expression that I only later realized also for myself, instead of just swallowing it.
Well, one of the most beautiful things I've learned from you, Andy, is assume nothing. And if someone says something that lands in a way, it's like, oh, what makes you say that? Like that, those questions keep the dialogue going instead of like shutting it down by walking away.
Exactly. Yeah, so. Today we had the Living Without Filters. Tomorrow we have Joe Presimone, who's basically a singer.
Oops, I sing in public.
She loves to express, and I've been around her. She's like bubbly. You know how we call people like bubbly? Like bubbly.
Yeah.
And so I like to be with her because in some ways, like I get the opportunity to see what I see as really two sides of the same coin. Is unfiltered is totally saying what's on your mind, but like living your full expression is not also easy for people. So I saw these two shows really back to back is quite cool because I really wanted to kind of put those juxtaposed because in some ways, like one would feel like one might feel that they're being put down, but on the other side, they might feel that they're uncomfortable because they can't be present with the same, call it emotion or certainly singing creates a lot of anxiety in people. So I'm cool. And I'm looking forward to spending tomorrow with Joe.
Me too.
And that'll be at 5 p.m. again, Central European time. Thank you for joining us, guys.
Have a beautiful day.
Wonderful chaos next time. Bye-bye.